Good morning, or whatever it is, wherever you are. So we had an interesting thing the other day. We had 4 files come through with the same seed, and I was looking at least one of them, and you saw, like, the horse carts just kind of appearing as the first thing. So I think that means it actually is all one map, and there was just something weird happening. And I think Jason may have been working on the updates, but I still don't know why. We had one a while back where there were actually multiple start times in the same file. So I don't know why it split files this time. In any case, I've got reason to believe, and I guess I can start things up and double check that. Or actually, I could double check this in the live one, probably. So this would be, we've got our most recent one. So we've got sort of the final state of this map, which maybe a town would be better. Yeah, this is far enough in that maybe people could have built horse carts somewhere. Where's an actual town? Yeah, now you see we've got a advanced well appearing up out of nowhere. So that one's definitely prior state. This one was extremely short. So, I mean, if it was like a server restart, there may have actually been very little time here. This town has some activity. Okay, fire, and boom. Wait, that's not a well, though. That's just a Newcomen. I mean, I guess that could have built up out of nothing. Although we've got berry bush appearing without a deep tilled row. Yeah, same thing. I think there were like 4 of these. So this would actually be the start. Yeah, you can see a berry farm over there now. Yeah, so those actually appear to be a continuous map. Which is going to be very inconvenient for us. Because everything we've done so far has been based around this ideal of log files. Oh, so the other thing we need to do is to set up a system where we can just, say, process the new ones. Process multiple servers. Okay, so this is more for the actual life logs. I've actually had been keeping some stuff in the map file, But for this, what we've got is there's right now the file abstraction, where we can get it from a cache of local files, or we can get it where we actually download file from servers. So that abstraction still kind of needs to exist. Somewhere. And then separate from that, we sort of have arc merging and splitting, where we can have one file, one arc. We can have same seed. Well, one file, one arc, one seed, one start. We can have two files with two seed, with same seed, which is two arcs and, well, could be two starts, because two files. A file pretty much always has a start marker, but we also have one file, it's like three starts, which implies one seed, but it's all one arc. And now what we've got is four files, one same seed, one arc. So we have to handle both. We cannot treat, well, we pretty much have to treat the previous one as a special case. Actually, where the heck is that? Oh no, that wasn't two files. That was one file. Well, a file implies a seed, really. For the most part. Two starts, two arcs. So we pretty much just distinguish this based on before and after a code change. Then we've got four files, same seed, and sort of four files with the same seed that all refer to one arc. So as we are building up our files, we have to sort of be able to look at the next file and say, hey, are you... Actually, there are no other cases. Yeah, so actually this is not going to conflict. This is, if it's the same seed, if it's a consecutive file with the same seed, we want to consider it a part of the same arc. So right now, we go through, we have... Right. So we have a facility for this server, just in case. Within a server, we go through log files, which are so far represented a single actual file, which will be maybe multiple arcs, but you definitely know when you're done with that, you are done. So we've got our server list. We've got a dirt, we've got a cache, we've got a for each. Yield log file new. And a log file is the thing that expects to point to exactly one file, and it can give you a file handle to that file. And that's an actual like Ruby file handle thing. we use that you are older code now. That's the output file. Okay, so we don't use that directly here. We've got map. Title placement log. File equals log file open. Nope. You should probably just get rid of the other file. So you are going to call so you read a log file and call me back every time we get a instance of that with the data for one arc. Actually, also, yes, the other work we need to do is preparing that to work nicer. But that is going to be our problem case here. So what our log file gets us is, well, we've got our filtering. We've got actually okay, this process doesn't need anything more from you. Arc needs the seed. So from the perspective of determining that we've got a arc, and at the end of the per file process, we always write out. And this is actually right now called from a whole other thing. Now, one of the things I've been thinking about doing is moving the arcs table into just a file rather than a database table, but that involves getting the S3 process working to actually upload those. Okay, arc load log from a log file. Okay, so this thing can return multiples. But well, the other thing we have to consider here is data updates, because these came out over time. So I may have to remove end as a, or we have to separate the fields into selection conditions and update fields. so that we can actually, yeah, this only considers an insert case. So this has to consider possible updates if we're going to do that. Or maybe I just... I mean, seeds could repeat. I guess we could look at things with the same seed and say, okay, was the start of this arc sufficiently close to the end of that arc, in which case we're just going to update the end. That would not require any deep down changes here. That would just be a database update. And then I'd have to clear at least the problem arcs, if not just do a reset and everything. And just like trust that we wouldn't have a seed repeat within a few hours of a previous one. But that lets this thing stay as a log file thing. For the actual maps, and maybe that will lead you to sort of meta file thing. Tile placement log. So you expect to get a singular log file. Okay, so objects, floors, placements are your static data. Tiled. What was tiled? Oh, that is our return value. Oh, was that actually each? I seem to have over extended window here. Okay. Okay, that is an each, not a yield. I guess yield would be a way to do it. So that's how you split among multiple things. Okay, so you've got an object that is building up this state. And this is not even, I don't even have an object method that reads in a file. I need that? Except a file could then split. Well, no. The only time you have a different arc in the same file currently is before a certain point, and we know what kind of weirdness we're going to get there. So we might be able to say that moves into a method of it that reads, well, if it is a split situation, we would have to actually pass the file handle, not the log file. I mean, that's the file handle is all we use out of that. No, there's probably like an end of file method we could check on there. So for splitting, we could say you run, well, we'd have read the arc start at that point. So we have to be able to start the new arc and use it. Unless we have some sort of file wrapper that can buffer a line. Okay. So maplog cache. We know files exist. We are pretty much doing an immediate iteration here. We could probably get the entire dir to be able to inquire about it. That has a list of files. So we will have file names. So if I do that as less of an internal iteration, let's see, do I do it at the file level or at the, well, we need to merge this into the previous tile placement log. We're in a log file. You don't really think at that level. So I need something that says, okay, I've got a open file handle. Add this to our current history. So right now I've got this class method that says, okay, I've got a log file. Give me all of the arcs that are in that log file. And right now, we just go through each log. I might do something like that at some point. Right now, it's just always in my way. Now, I can't actually ask about, yeah, this log file path. I could have actually asked about the seed. So I need some sort of intermediate level that can mediate when we do a new arc versus when we do continue a previous one. So something in the code has to be able to support adding data to an existing arc. And since things are named, we're looking at incremental processing, and since things aren't, well, I might have to do some sort of cleanup process that can actually remove files if it turns out the arc got extended. And I guess the other way to deal with this, well, no, I can't just say, okay, we break up the snapshots. That this could be leading me towards having individual breakpoints in map logs. But we're not quite there yet. And that takes a log file and splits it out. We need to be able to feed that multiple log files. Could I have something intermediary that is just giving me a map log stream and similar to how we have start times would insert seed change in appropriate places? Then we have to deal with the problem if we've partially, well, this needs partial processing set up anyway. But then I need some sort of way to unwind that. Or rewind that if I need to build up the entire history of that seed. So right now all a cache can do is each. I may have to be able to get I don't know, a list at a start time range or a seed in a start time range. I'll be able to specify a set of things to reprocess. Perhaps I need to have some sort of persistent arc list. Which lists the files it is composed of. So that if reprocessing is needed, we can get them all. From a do everything perspective, the concept of like a arclog stream sounds kind of nice. We did something similar to that with individual lifelog entries. Uh, hmm. Let's create. Oh, it's the name log? Oh, you probably don't have proper exclusions. So I only use that in name log that had some merged lines. Next time, okay, so that actually did parse out the individual line. It gave us a buffer of the name logs. so it could compare. And check for some particular situations. All right, well, this thing's dead. Your data server. So you need the buffer length of 3 to do that. So you got past the file handle, you worked on the file handle. So if I had some sort of meta loader, and I've already sort of gotten each in there. So you could do it at this level. The only problem is that then you don't have as easy abstraction, or you have to kind of duplicate the code into these things. Maybe you could do a module for that? Given something that can give you an exhaustive list of files. We could probably even do initial log file.new on them. And then if you detected the case where there were multiple consecutive things of one seed, you could return one log file, and the only thing you'd have to deal with then is detecting the case where you had previously processed parts of that. And you need to do an update on it. But if you could implement that for both of them, and I would have to return a open abstraction where I implement like gets and any other methods I need on some sort of virtual file object that will open these all in turn. Now, log server. right, so scene is path, timestamp, server, prox log time, time within. Date is just a field here, but it has a date. All right, so at some point in this process, we're going to have to make an actual list of all of the log files. We can use the introspection methods. I don't know if I completely trust. And we're probably not going to change number of digits in the timestamp anytime soon. So I can probably trust the file ordering. We have to turn it into a list so we could then examine for consecutive cases, consecutive seeds that had to be turned into a single entry. But then what's your path? Because the current server arc processing wants to get a file path that it has processed. I guess we take the latest file. It's not entirely true. And we still have to deal with the fix-up case. All right, I might be able to share the multi-file thing. But the listing and merge checking, I'm not sure about. So dir dot for each yield log file new. So we have to make a array of log files so we can then go through and check for consecutive seeds. Or I'd have to do something like the, I guess I only care about consecutive files, which means you'd have to be reading one ahead. Did you even do that in an iteration? I've got to rewind for some reason. Oh. dir.read. So that would be dir.new this. Then we could buffer up a few paths. And that was lifelog. And presumably there is some way to current position. Returns the position parameter. It's a new directory object. Turns the current position. Yeah, I don't see like a end of file or type thing. Included modules enumerable. Turns nil at the end of the stream. And not file EOF. That's the problem we're going to have to be very careful about. I guess it could just, No, because I do need a second iteration if we're going to do this in like a for each situation. We really only need 2 entries here at a time. We cannot check for end here. Well, we do need another loop then, if we, in that case. So that means that we have to get a path equals dir.read. And break out of that loop. And if it's there, all right, so you buffered up to 3. I was checking for, because it need to do its thing. And then shift would return the first one. So we should only have 2 here. No. If we have enough. I mean, it should never be more than that. Then we need to do our metafile stuff. And maybe I actually need to develop that before I can really use this. And then we yield what is it? Lib. Oh, did I open this file directly? No. So this is some sort of I really do need to make a data module someday. Or maybe, because maplog is actually what I call the individual entries. And you get a list of log files. And we're probably going to have a current. Not shift. I'm not even too picky about making these private right now. And then we have to implement this kind of API. So path is let me log files dot last dot path. Cache should be really this any of them. A file path might even be something internally. All right. Date unless timestamp. Time at timestamp. Timestamp is, so this is going to be This is something I originally used for cache update things. And what am I missing? Well, act as its own separate file is the problem. Hello, Windows. Are one of these open or something? Okay, we don't use that here. I need you to finish moving. Ah, that's used for the within. And that's it. That's only used by history? And scene tiles. So that's not actually used on these right now. It was, well, not by you. Nope. Except now I do need... date was related to... That might be related to this. Because this kind of does both. Within date, server. Wait, we shouldn't be actually broken right now. Good. Now timestamp. It's prox log time. You probably have other timestamps. Okay. So it would be a better combined file if it supported everything. But I'm really uncertain what date to use if it mattered. So idea is to only use these where the seed matches. And then this is the interesting one. So to keep the same interface that we currently have, I need to have a separate thing It is like... Yeah, actually, you don't even have the current bit. This is the log file interface. Do I open all of these right away? Now you can probably have a queue. So I know we use gets. File.gets, log file, file.gets, file.eof. I don't think I'm using directly. Oop, where am I? In maplog cache. Log file, log file, log file, log file, log file, log file. Log file. Oops, not gets. We already know that one. Initializers, log file dot log file, log file, log file, file equals log file dot open. Which we need for name logs. And logs, okay. That seems to be all we're using. So, well, there's current log file and there is current file handle. I might be able to do that. Then it just turns into current.open or no, current.gets. Well, this is probably more like as long as that manages end of file. And as long as the first file doesn't immediately end of file. And this should just be Make sure there's actually something there. So now you can we were in applying cache for testing. So this thing combine log file. Oh, shoot. I don't have an exhaustive list. Okay, well, there shouldn't be a syntax error. Maybe it is upset because we kind of left this code in here. No. Oh, maybe it's loop do. There we go. You don't have an end condition. What did I do? We return shift, so at some point we would just return nil. It's still buffer.shift. Oh, this is going to be based on dir. But dir didn't have, so we can break this loop. I guess we break unless buffer.length greater than 0. So this is only pairwise combination. Which might work to an extent. Seems like it's going to have a lot of levels of stuff going on. Or I have to sort of find the run and continue fetching new entries until we either find not a run or the end of the list, and then we take the list of matching entries. I think I have to not try and super efficiency this thing. Dir has enumerable, so it probably has map. And I lost my map log check. I can just remove nils, I guess. So map everything to a log file. There's been various conventions for the do n versus curly braces. Get rid of the nils. This would become an array. Sandlet, maybe? That doesn't have an array. Maybe it's an enumerable thing. New. Now you see, I'm thinking group by seed, but it matters that they're consecutive. So we still have an iterative problem. Now, if you're just array processing and not immediately using things, then having the array there to sort of do like last entry. Oh, does dir.read automatically advance? I mean, usually, like, it'd be like kind of a get string. dir.tell, dir.read. $12? $12? I equals d.pos 12, a d.read dot dot. Is this like in the textual description of the directory? It's like an IDO number? But this does imply that we read and then it changes our position. So if we've read, we've changed position. While we read something with the same consecutive seed, we want to bundle it all up. We would prefer to do that all as one list rather than having some sort of nested structure. But it's very hard to do an incremental algorithm. So we have to have one buffered, we have to have the next one, we read the next one. If it's the same, so we don't always buffer two. We don't have to buffer at least two, but we make a new log file, we compare it to our last log file. If it's this, while it's the same, we keep loading them. So we would have to care about the entry we just read and the previous entry, if they both exist and they both have the same seed. So read until we get two entries with consecutively different seeds. And then we process the first one. So I think no, we need the modifier key for that. One of them. I want to I guess it would be or, so now we know it's 2. Buffer -1 dot seed equals buffer So we append to our buffer. If they're the same, we read again. When we get to the end of that, we have to consider if buffer.length equals 2, then we process one of them. That's actually not quite right. Because the last entry could be the same seed. We would have no different entry to read. But if there were files to process, then all of them except the last would be the same seed. Oh, I guess they haven't dealt with equals 1, huh? It would actually be less than or equal to 2. But it matters whether we were able to read a final entry or not. Would this be easier to handle later on? And just say we can keep around our map set and pass it an additional file to read in. It means you'd have to defer writing out your data until you had checked the next seed. But this is really getting gnarly. That, oh yeah, we'll just add a layer of abstraction. But handling it like that is not looking pretty. The nice thing about this is it would have kind of handled it once. So this thing, tiled placement log, has a class method right now. It takes a log file. And it incrementally updates a bunch of fields. So if I move this to be more of an instance method on a file handle, you'd have to touch everywhere that called this to check for same seed. Or have some sort of... Or could I turn that into one loop? Well, we've got two of these, so... Actually, you've got this, and you've got the arcs, which just get past load log. But that you could sort of handle on a case-by-case basis. So right now this is the class method because it can split these, but once we've got to the point where we've got a file and we have an instance, well, splitting is awkward. Because at that point you've read the file line, and we need to be able to use the information that is there. To start the new file. Well, we can just ignore that problem and hope it won't happen again. Because that is old code that shouldn't happen. Well, it shouldn't happen on an incremental file. But if we want to turn this into a function, we still have to consider that it could happen. Well, if it got a file handle, we could pick up processing the new one. We would still have to have a way to get the start time out, though. Do we have a two-level process? No, I can't just have something else deal with the start lines. I don't think. What do we do with you? Do I have to do a top-level process that says, I'm going to look at all of my files? Well, that's kind of what I was trying to do before. And the algorithm to do it at the file level was just getting really gnarly. Yeah, so the fact that we have start lines in here is what makes it hard to, like, say, oh, we got a start line. Let's break out and do over. Unless I set up the thing that processed lines to say, well, if we got If we had a start line and we're at the splitting point, could we return the current one and also return the line we read? So the loop above it could say, oops, there was an extra line there. And then that method would also have to be able to take a buffered first line type of thing. And process that before doing an actual file read. That might allow you to make most of this reading into a instance method. I have to watch out for one of these variable scopes to be. Object over. What did I... Oh boy, what did I do with you? Object over is... just a struct holding that stuff. What are we indexing these with? IDs. All right, this is to manage how big an object is. So given an edge of it only returns an over x over y. because that's the number of tiles this object goes over the edge. Right. If we're right on the edge, it's going to peek over into the next tile. If we're right on the other edge, it's going to peek over right into the next tile. And that's undexed by ID. So that's per object. Where do we... Oh, this is the dummy value. This is passed in from elsewhere. So these are all parameters. We just have to get kind of forwarded down to the individual method. If we still had one of these, would we still have that class method? For the split, we'd have to be able to return the interrupting line and then call it again to get the second one. For the case where we had a same seed, we would have to not write a file for end of file until we got a different seed or the end of the files we're currently processing. And then you still have to deal with the issue of you need to reprocess a bunch of files that have the same seed. So the directory indirection version sort of works around this. So maybe instead of a full file, we just need to keep the last seed? No, because as soon as we pass on a file, the upper level code's going to have said, okay, we're done. That gives us a bunch of log files. I wonder if we could say... So we have to have at least a previous entry, and we may also have to have a list of files that are matching. I think as soon as we get seed not equal to... We take this up. If the seeds are not equal to, we just process that and be done with it. They are equal. We need to read again. Can we actually do this as like a top level? Actually make it the top level loop where we read but then we have to deal with this if there's still stuff to be processed. If there's nothing to read, then we have to do a dequeue before exiting. If we get a new, well, we're still going to have like buffer previous. Do we need anything more than previous? We do have to have an array at some point for things with the same seed. So we have to consider dequeuing anything there. We have to consider dequeuing anything if the seed's not the same. Or we have to consider combining and dequeuing. We also consider combining and dequeuing if we get to the end of it there. Maybe I do kind of want the loop. Because then it's wherever you exit the loop. It seemed like such a, I mean, I know it was not going to be an easy problem, but it seemed more straightforward than this. Say, well, while it's the same seed, so we've read a file. The first one, we don't know if it's going to be part of a series or not. We read the next file. So if we do later processing, then we can have processed that file, and maybe we need to keep, well, you keep the results of it, you keep the file. Sort of the same thing. And the next one is either nothing, in which case we still have to write that file out, or process it, or return it, or something. Ooh, yeah, anything in a like a for each environment is going to have that final case check for did we not read anything else. So that makes that a little bit awkward. So we have to consider like doing all of our dequeuing, which is kind of equivalent to our file write a little bit. And then if the seeds don't match, we also have to do all of our dequeuing. So maybe we do Then we can say, see, so this could be our very first entry. In which case we need to load another line. If it was empty, we need to do end of processing. And really combining the sort of the end of run processing is what's making this awkward. Well, I had some code. Just this case was getting. What was wrong with that case? We had to consider that we read not enough lines. We had to consider that we had, if it's exactly one line, you could pretty much just process it. We had to consider the case that we read an empty line, we had been on a series, and we still have to process stuff. So we had that. And then we had to consider if buffer.length is at 0, then we're just done. If it's exactly equal to 1, we have no possible combinations we can do. We just need to process it. Else, there's at least 2 entries, but this has to go to at least 2. So we have to consider the case that the seeds were not equal. So if we have to have read at least 2. And we're going to stop if nothing was read, or if the most recent entry is not equal. So if they were equal, that means we read nothing, we're at the end of our list. We have to combine everything into one. Else, it is everything except the last entry has to get combined. Now, isn't there like some range stuff you can do? 0, 2, negative 1. So 0, 2, negative 2 is everything but the last. And this is the last entry, which is still hanging out there. I mean, I guess we can do that for completeness. I mean, this would really just be process that one file and reset the buffer. Okay. So now, with the break in place, so if it's nothing, we break. If it is, we're on our last entry, just process it. If we hit the end of the list and the end was a series, we return that. And if we hit something different, then we need to combine everything else. And where have we messed things up? All right, so this code's removed. We are set up. So this is only the cache version, and oh, this is the defunct code. Actually, dir.new. No, this is use the dir.new. And I'm going to need a slightly different version of this for the server because I'm just going to have the file list from the HTML. In which case I kind of will have an array there. I've been meaning to change some of these output directories anyway. But for now. All right, so speaking of changing directories, should probably just do that. Oh, I actually need my files back now. Gotta think about that one for a little bit. Meanwhile, so the problem we're trying to solve there was going crazy. The regex. directory selection. Let's see, do I have this on a regular terminal? No, I don't. It's only... Okay, so it's not pretty. File finding, ignore dir. Defining your own types, environment variables. ACRC. I wonder where it looks for that. Oh yeah, some things will use like underscore. So that seems to be where some other of those style of files are. There's also documents, maybe even app stuff, depending on how they set it up. Have I really never set that up though? I wonder if you can do that. I wonder if that works on a per directory basis. And we were saying... Right, made this a lot wider, which I don't need anymore. All right, we're still in project directory. So if what was I searching for? Prox log time. Oh, unknown option. So it did read the local file. It didn't understand the syntax. Maybe it wants these per line. Maybe in here it doesn't need the dash. I caps locked, didn't I? Has extra arguments. Not ArcRC. Oh, maybe it's supposed to be equals. All right, being able to have local files for that will solve a lot of problems, especially with the slower Windows version. Anyway, Now we get on to our crashes. No plus conversion of nil into string. Join file cache. Oh. Naming is hard. Undefined method for nil class. So we apparently tried to make one of these out of a end of directory listing. Oh, you know what I lost? Combine, you know, I probably did log, combine log file. Given 1, expected 0. Oh, wrong name. Oh, I was printing out the log file to get my naming there. Okay, we saw both of the exclusions in there. Now, this might be a little bit tricky to... Oh, you know what? I got distracted from changing my file output. Did I even change it? I didn't change it at all. So we actually have to wait for that to finish because it's going to have files open. But what can we look at? So we were back here. This is like the first arc in the series. So there's a bunch of dotted stuff down here. Nothing really in the center yet. There's some wood flooring down there. There's some wood flooring up here. Now, well, no, if we look at this arc, ooh. Okay, not the last one. Yeah, you can see some of the stuff around here. So if that was properly merged, that final image should then include those wood floors. But it's taking a long time to write those out. Possibly because it's having to overwrite files. Although it's usually not too big a problem. I don't remember the writing time being so big a deal before. So I did leave it on keep place over, just gonna make it a little bit harder to see that it's doing stuff. We think it's gonna be this one. Well, there's an 1114. And then I have to. I guess I should look at my old. Well, until I do map log. It's going to be those 4 timestamps. I guess these 3 that go away. Interesting it touches that directory, not the one above it. Hey, MyPic, how's it going? Unfortunately, I'm having an unusually long file right here. It didn't go crazy, did it? It doesn't seem terribly crazy. I mean, this actually shouldn't have to write out that many files, though. With what? Might have added a bug somewhere. No, those are updated. Those are updated. Now it got to excluded, which tells me it should have exited the new loops. Yeah, so it exited that. Okay. Now you say Paul. So get Paul usually implies that you both, there are 2 operations. One that you fetch the changes and the other in that you merge them into your current branch. So we've got to get into a couple little details like what are you using to pull from the repo? Is it a command line? Is it an Atom integration? Is it, I think there was I know there was a GitHub app at one point. It's an Atom package. Okay, so that probably should have everything synced up properly. But the one of the things I'd be concerned about there is that you are pulling the same branch you are currently viewing. No, I think pull usually means merge with local, but I actually don't do enough with it to know if it is merge into the same named branch or try to merge into the current branch. Only one branch. Okay. Have you tried reopening a file or relaunching the editor to make sure that it's not... it could be configured not to automatically reload files. I think most... I know... at least I have my Vim configured to do that. I use a... place I'm working at uses a Visual Studio Code, which is usually does that. But you can do a manual reload just to kind of determine if that's the thing at issue. All right, so we got to the end of this thing. This thing is what was iterating over that file. So we shouldn't be stuck in that loop. Oh, we did, but this thing changed our file directory loop. And think of the follow. So it probably we're doing something very silly here. Oh, you know what? I'm doing next unless path. This needs to be a break. For one. And I forgot to update my paths because that took so long. Okay, so we know we output something. Okay, so we've already overwritten that, but oh well. So that's my main output right now. And it asked me for my GitHub token? Okay, so the GitHub files are right. Since it's a editor integration, I would presume that the files you're looking at are going to be the same, or the repository you're looking at is going to be the same as the repository it's fetching stuff to. Because you could have multiple copies of the repository on your local machine. I guess there is... you could double check that what it calls pull in the interface is in fact the fetch and merge. So I don't know what system you're on. I've got well, there at worst there's, I think it's branch. No. That's only the remotes, but there is two of them. So I've got a Git X on my Mac. I've got the Windows thing here. So that you can see that my master branch here is different than my master branch on, which is effectively a GitHub. So that if you can have, if there's any kind of branch viewing, and probably there's a, okay, so you can see that, unfortunately, maybe there's like an all. Yeah, so you can see that, for instance, even though I've got some local directory changes, you can tell that my local master is the same as the remote master, just to make sure it actually merged that in. Now, if a actual merge happened, you might have a merge commit that was actually more than that, which is where looking at the graphical history in some way can be helpful. And there's ways to get that in command line. We said you're using the Atom integration. So maybe there's some sort of history viewer there. But yeah. It sounds like it's doing a fetch but not a merge or a checkout of the updated files or something. Or maybe you've somehow checked out something other than master locally. Git status will generally, on branch master will tell you that. And then the graphical thing also has a highlight for the current commit you're operating off of. But yeah, it's sounding kind of like a discrepancy between what you've fetched and what you've checked out. And then of course you can also check for remote branch versus current branch. Are they actually current with each other? This is supposed to be key place test. And I have been wanting to just generally clean these up. It's the public output. So you are currently my actual map log. I've already corrupted this one a little bit. These are all old by this point. And in fact, I should have done more than that. Ooh, it's thinking about that. Okay, those weren't quite as big. All right, so now we did already update this, so it should be this one. I could fetch these back from S3 if I needed to, or just regenerate them. That should mostly be a straight up update. And we expect to see some floors in here. Now, this could be my local, could this be my local browser cache? Okay, so that did not work. So first of all, rewrite it, make sure we got the right thing. That's different seed. Actually, I should double check what files I'm fetching here. Shouldn't be images necessarily. 238, 238, okay. Okay, map public, output. Test. Public. Oh wait, actually, I don't have this server up, so it's probably just cached stuff. Because I wasn't actually having to touch this earlier. Oh no, this is the live one. I'll just look at the data. Okay. Actually, I can get you from here. I need a web server for the front end files. I need a database server, which probably needs to be updated. It might not be current with this data, but I've changed the thing that it uses. I could use a live one. 4 arcs. And I'm going to sort out how we reset that later. Okay, it actually wasn't that far behind. Of course, I have to find that location again. Uh-oh. Okay, do I need my Elm compiler? Apparently. Don't know how that got out of sync. Alright, so we want to be 1 arc back. And where was that town? Okay, it's still missing some stuff, but it actually has floors. That was not there in the other image, which makes me feel better about this being a complete set. Yeah, that road's still a little bit spotty. But as the final image, we've got all of our berry bushes and these things. So now, I also need the map logs for this, which should just be a matter of reprocessing it. But I'm going to have to sort of very carefully step through deleting the other things well, I could process the map logs for that bit. Uh-oh, found something? Well, it was more like, I guess something happened. Not really an uh-oh, but... Now, I won't really be able to run this because it's going to get the times from something else. So I guess I could switch to a manually updated ARC setup and then worry about automating that later. Pulled every file from GitHub first onto my second machine because I only had some of the files there. Oh, like the directory listing hadn't updated because some files came into existence that weren't there previously? Then reloading the editor probably should have refreshed the directory listing. Pulled every file. Yeah, because like you generally don't, in Git terms, you don't pull individual files, you pull repository states that contain multiple files. But yeah. Alright, so that's that thing. I either need to have this thing reprocess ARC, well, I need to update servers for that too. Which unfortunately means I'm going to have to actually test this. I might also almost have to develop some other stuff to properly test the switching behavior here. So let's go back to final placement. That's going to be a little bit faster. How do I get this to process? Get to skip files. I guess there's always the kind of brute force version of just files hadn't pushed yet. Ah. I don't see why that should have caused Adam trouble, but sure. So you add the files, commit them, push them, pull them on the other machine, and it's all a matter of, or it should just be a matter of, I guess we kind of went before as well. Doing all that stuff. So we want to make sure we end up with 3 entries out of this. That shouldn't have been combined with anything. Is it always combining? I mean, it doesn't really hurt anything, but I'd rather it didn't. Yeah, because it should. Oh, this is an else. Okay. Oh, that's buffer length 2. Seeds not equal. Oh, if there's exactly one. You don't really have to do anything. So our output is actually should still be fine, but okay, we got 3. Oh, wait. No, if it equals 2 and the seeds are not equal, then we can just peel one off. Oh, well, thanks for the bits. I don't know why the audio wasn't playing. Oh, you know what? I was messing around with one of the OBS Studio betas and some of the volume options, but that shouldn't have actually muted it. Or rather, this version shouldn't support that. Maybe it was buggy. That's why they didn't mess with it. So I'm going to have to check on those things. I need to go around and do some audio testing with that. But that would explain a general lack of alerts. Although I thought I heard some other alerts. All right, so we do get the big combined one, which is this case. We do get regular log files. That might be working. Cool. And then we have to get all of this to work for remote directory listings, remote log files. I was done with you. So we get the index, extract path list. And you see, I did an unnecessary map there. So this actually does sort of reify the path list. How do we... So we're going to get a path list. We are going to... So since this has a full list, there's probably an alternate implementation here where we just kind of scan through, identify runs, and replace some targeted entries. But this basically gives us the same code, so we can kind of... now, do you need the log date? Yeah, you have to get the log date information from there. So you are a little bit different. You also want to file path join. So path, log date. I think I have to do that. All right, so key place. No, final placement. Server. Log server. Okay. So it appears to have properly filled in all the values. Oh. Combine log file. Yeah. Those are much bigger prints than they used to be. Huh, I wonder what part of that is printing out file names. Servers each. Open, base URL plus path. All right, so that should work. So that might be enough to regenerate arcs with the proper list. Let's see. So this will be able to use either. Still use the local directories. So this might generate a new one that, because right now I'm checking all fields for if they exist. So the quick and dirty version of this is we just do a total reset. Date. Oh. I didn't. Oh, using the date field directly. Okay. Oh, no, that's going to be arc, isn't it? No. Print log file.date. The time updated. So we're mainly concerned about server. Date is. Date is a field on a log file. Or in this kind of log file. So we have to do some further processing to kind of handle incremental cases here. But to our first approximation, we do probably want something here. Okay, the date of that gave me the path of the last file, which had already been processed, so it did nothing new. I'm going to need some incremental logic here. But I think that's all going to be in this process, where we have to say, okay, given a seed, do we have another arc with that seed that let's see, with the combined file, actually, they would have the same start time. If it's the same start time and the same seed, then we need to update the end time. Actually, there's a whole lot of stuff I need to do with incremental processing here. I need my file system, data generation stuff. To keep track of which files it's processed. Because right now it's a very annoying manual process. Okay, so we select one where fields, so I guess I'm going to have to just kind of reset my local arcs a bunch of times to see if I can walk through our problem point here. Okay. Okay, so map, big server 2. I kind of don't want to mess with this. Unfortunately, these are all very large files. And then where do you... Is the task maybe? Yeah. My map log, that's fine. So for, I guess you're going to want two windows here. Cache, give me my master set. So we are going to pretend, oh shoot, I'm going off the index file. No, this is the map cache. So I don't even think we read the index file. So we're going to say, we're going to reset. Actually, since this is going to be a test reset, let's get rid of the other stuff just to save us some time. Too many windows. Oh, does arcs reset automatically? Okay, we don't want to do that right now. Normally, yes. Actually, I need to actually make some changes now. Okay, so that is our base state. So we have fields, server ID, start, and seed. So fields, if this does come to pass, I'm going to again to select the record and update one field. Actually, in my life logs, I had like an upsert process, although that was designed more for the bulk import thing. This is relatively lightweight. So let's just not do anything yet. Just to see if this properly detects what we want. All right, so this is the master of all the files. This is just a couple of files. Okay, so second one comes in. Invalid syntax. Oh, the delete returned the value. It's like, where's my printout? Okay, well, still didn't like it. So server ID, start, seed. Okay, that was at the right fields. Integer. Did I ever use the name match somewhere? Big server. What? And seed equals. Oh. Wait, what? Did I typo something? Path, cache, file path, date, servers. I wasn't actually processing seed out of these before. You're like, what the heck? You're right, it's not an integer. Copy pasta strikes again. Okay, it determined that it should update that. So we want to Where match, update, and so don't have to recalculate this. And you could double update it, probably wouldn't hurt too much. Or double update all the other fields. Okay, now what I forgot to do, your 5,000 is check my end time. Although we could actually, because these are going to be the start times. Yeah, that's actually a gap there. 706.201, 706.1966. Well, really what we want to see is that number changes. Oh! Oh! Hi, Jinta, how's it going? Okay, so paste this. I guess I saw you doing some framework work earlier. I spent most of the day struggling through some hard iteration stuff. Maybe there's a better pattern for it. Okay, so this was 966. Okay, so that advanced. Because I've had these set of log files that we're trying to do stuff with. Yeah, it's actually been getting a little bit cooler here lately. And what started happening is one period of time that is supposed to be a continuous history got broken into multiple log files. So whereas I used to have a system that would, well, there was one case where one file represented 2 periods. But mostly when you got to the end of a log file, you could say, okay, we're done with that thing. Well, we can't do that anymore. So it's been a bit of a challenge. All right, so then we get the last piece of this. And if we ran a processing doing that, we do an update. 979 becomes, there's our 238. And then if another doesn't log into a file yet, I also need to, yeah, I haven't, well, I'm not really doing any logging out of this. I'm just using somebody else's log files. And if we get a different file that's completely unrelated, do I even have the insert code looked up? I don't. Then we get a whole new event. All right, so now I want to okay, so this is still commented out. Now I want to get you back off of test. Nope, not rest. Ooh, yeah, the destruction of global variables. Is that destructors or just Terraton in general? Atomic. Function static local variables. Okay, I haven't gotten into atomic. Function static local variables during program deconstruction. Yeah, that's going to be kind of a system-dependent thing. All right, so that knocked that down. So what we've got for the time being, and I still need to get some incremental processing going for my own sanity here, is you. Actually, I don't need the notes necessarily. That was more Scratchpad. Can deadlock during load for 16-byte atomic variables. And destroyed. Oh, that's wonderful. Yeah, that's like reminding me of, let's see, yes, you want that for real. That does not need to be done there. That reminds me of a case I had. Static local variables. Huh. Well, a little bit of a. I was working on a mod to something, or a modification to something, and it wasn't being perfectly observant of read and write and seek file positions, and there's a very clear statement, if once you find the documentation and kind of get clued onto it, that it's like reads after writes aren't considered consistent behavior or defined behavior. So it was working on its original target system, and it wasn't working on some other systems. So that was an interesting little bit. So we would not want to do this normally. I mean, all of this stuff is. This is something else I need to work on, but unfortunately, I'm kind of out of time today. And our output directories. So for normal use, I probably would be outputting to these. I might need to combine these into a single process at some point. All right, so I've still got to sort out all of my data directories, clean up the stuff on S3. So I need to synchronize the new files, clean up the unused directories, reset the arcs. I guess I could leave the old ones up for a day in case there's still cached stuff out there that references it. I'm just going to have to like purposefully keep a list of those directories to delete. Yeah. Uh, yeah, because if they're inside the function, you can't really get at them to manually manage that stuff. So you're relying on the automatic destructors, and if things aren't going in quite the right order, yeah, you kind of got a box you can't get into. All right, so what do my files look like? Okay, so map test we just shouldn't even need. I now need output. So we had our 403. Have I not? Oh, that's the other one. I actually need to rerun you. Actually, it is this. And I kind of want to do a tier for this one run to make sure we get the new thing. You need to rerun this seed. I ran that in the wrong thing before. Upvoted by 1,000. Yeah. I mean, it does sound like something that you might want to do, so it would be a full-on bug. But I imagine there's a lot of bugs out there crying for attention. Oof. Okay. Yeah, I don't know. The general reports is that Microsoft has been getting a lot better about community and open source stuff, but could be per team, or maybe they've already seen it and fixed it internally or something. I don't know. Yeah, Visual Studio proper is a pretty big old program. It doesn't surprise me all that much. Okay, so we have you. That's the new stuff. I guess for now I'll have to keep it here. So I can just keep track of everything's. All right, let's try to make sure we get reasonably map public key place. So for these, it is these that should be going away. And really I just need the timestamps, but I'll keep those around just in case for a little bit. And these that should be going away. Well, Visual Studio Code isn't not a full-featured IDE in the same way Visual Studio is. I don't know about it for Windows programming. I don't know if it's supposed to be able to cover that. I mean, kind of an obvious thing to do, but they've got Visual Studio for that. I know it's targeted more at the sort of somewhere between a full IDE and a more general purpose editor, with some of that defined by the various plugins. And, it's kind of targeted more at like, the atoms and whatnot of the world. But maybe there's the right plugins there you could do some Windows programming on. I don't know. All right, so that is cleaned out of here. Okay, that's you need fewer windows. Output. I've still got this in here for now. I didn't even need to rerun that one. This should strictly be a superset. And I guess I'll have to actually use S3 Sync to update these, because... Well, no, there's not going to really be any duplicates. It's all potentially including extra stuff. Well, it's a big enough program, I probably wouldn't want to deal with it. Or try to keep it running and well-tuned, but I guess you can't claim that they don't have the budget to do it. All right, so that is reasonably cleaned up. Oh, what I need to do... get status. Okay, so this is clean. So right now we've got a GitHub reference over to this. So this should be a no-op, but it will make sure it should trigger Bundler to go, hey, that changed. Okay, I kind of like the import update. I don't really need the match conditions here. So this attempts to handle... And really, this is kind of a temporary measure. I think what I want to end up doing is getting the arc information into a self-astatic file. That way, it sort of updates in lockstep with all the data definitions, and I only have one thing that is generating the timestamps we care about. Because right now, there's this awkward thing where both of these projects, although using some of the same code to do it, kind of have to agree on these timestamps to find, to get this to match up with the files. So I think I probably want to move this into the static files so it's all kind of in one world as far as defining that system of those IDs. And that might give me some meta information there to judge what needs and does not need to be processed on that end. Similar to how we have a database check here. So I need to push out those updates, update the final image for that, and then like tomorrow delete the sort of bogus partial arc files. I need to say goodbye. Thanks for watching. Oh, that's right. Let me pick up some bits. Tajinta brought some friends. Bye. and everybody else who hosted me. Yeah, it's about time for food for me too. Uh-oh. And the Twitch API seems to be down right now. Oh, nope, there it goes. Just took a refresh for some reason. This is about when I tend to be on. I was kind of doing some meta stuff around 1 hour 1 life. I'll be back to playing this afternoon. So we've got some really big coding people. We've got some straight up algorithmic challenges. I don't know if any of them are going to be like run detection. Maybe I could have actually looked up some sort of like incremental run detection algorithm. But I don't know if he does this like Martin. But he's working on some code challenges right now. Looking for someplace cool to hang out. Someplace cool to hang out. Thanks for hanging out with me. Goodbye, and until next time.